Success is rarely built in isolation. Whether you're healing after trauma, building a bigger business, or stepping into your calling, the people you surround yourself with will either expand your vision or reinforce your fears. Today, I'm sharing the unexpected way I manifested a free ticket to the Wealthy and Well conference in Portland, Maine, and why being in a room full of purpose-driven women reminded me that community isn't only inspiring, it's transformational. We explore why celebrating other women's wins brings you closer to your own, and we also unpack the deep work of forgiveness. Not because your past deserves it, but because your future does. Welcome to Rich in Spirit.
Paid in Full.
I'm Victoria.
And I'm Iman.
Here, we believe you don't have to choose between spiritual growth and financial success,
ambition and alignment,
or healing and building an abundant life.
Join us each week to quantum leap with both proven, profitable systems and the spiritual insights that will light your way through life's greatest expansions.
Let's step into success that feeds your soul. Hello.
Hello. Thank you, everyone, joining us. It's so nice to be here. Before we do our grounding breaths, I would like to invite people listening to set an intention, something that they want to release, maybe something you've been thinking about, something that has been on your mind, stressing you out. Just think of something you want to let go. Come into the present with us. Victoria, would you mind leading us in a few grounding breaths?
I would love to. Okay, so you guys might know the drill by now. Take a deep inhale into your nose. Hold at the top. And then slowly exhale out the mouth. And again, once you get to the bottom of the exhale, going right back into the second inhale, feeling the stomach expand as you inhale. Hold. And then slowly exhale out the mouth. And then last one, take a deep inhale. Hold at the top. Holding a little bit longer. And then exhale with sound. Sigh it out. Let it all go.
Thank you so much for that, Victoria. Always so lucky to get you to bring us here before we start. You just got back from a very special trip. Where did you go?
I went to Portland, Maine for a 3-day conference called Wealthy and Well, hosted by Kat Sanuski. And it was an unexpected trip. So to take you back to how this all unfolded, I did a mastermind last year with Kato Vermeulen for 6 months. And it was like a business mastermind, but there was also a lot of trauma healing. And she's based in South Africa, and it was all online, so I've never met her in person. And we were talking about her coming to the US. And I was like, "Where are you gonna be? I would love to meet you." And she said she was gonna be in Portland. And it just happened to line up with a trip that I was doing back to Rhode Island. And so we were gonna try to see each other, and she was like, "I actually have a guest ticket for this event." So I got to go with her as her guest
Oh my gosh.
to this amazing experience. And then after that, I went home to Rhode Island. I got to see friends in the Boston area as well. But an important side note on this, there was another coach I worked with in 2022 who reached out to me about a 3-day immersion she was hosting in Atlanta. And she was like, "Yeah, I remember that you lived in Atlanta and wanted to see if you'd be interested in going." And I really, really wanted to go. And so I just kept thinking really positive thoughts about it and just like, let's see what happens. Let's see if maybe I can be a breathwork facilitator at the event. Maybe I can figure out something where this can work because it was not cheap. And then a few days or maybe even a week later, I got this invitation from Kato. And that is the power of manifestation, guys. It's thinking positively, thinking how exciting it would be to go to the event, to have the relationship, whatever it is. And it may not look exactly like you think it's going to look, but staying open to what can come up and going with the flow is very powerful.
Right. It's not controlling the how. I can only go to the conference if I do this or if this happens or I have to get the money. It's being open to whatever way the miracle can show up. And you were embodying that, and then it came to fruition. That's amazing. So tell us more about this event. What was it that initially drew you to it?
Yeah, so like when I was thinking about wanting to go to the first event. Okay.
Mm. And then how
Yes.
that showed up in this other.
Yes. So I am living in Knoxville, Tennessee right now. I met my boyfriend when I still lived in Atlanta. We were long distance, and now I am living with him. And I don't really have a community here yet. So I was very interested in different ways I could find my community, my people, other entrepreneurs. And so initially that was something that was happening online, like with the mastermind. That was a amazing benefit of doing the mastermind was being around all these other women who are building their business, who are in a similar industry. And I wanted to meet some people in person. And I did. They were in Knoxville, but it still it still was in person. And so that was my thought process of it would be really exciting to go to this immersion, work with this coach who I'd worked with in the past in person, meet her in person, experience her magic. And this is the original one, the immersion that I was thinking of going to in Atlanta, and be around women who are just as passionate as me about self-development, their business, going inward, because I personally don't have an issue really with women being catty or things like that. Like I know there are some women that that's like a thing for them when they go into groups of women. That's like a story they have or something they've experienced in the past and they have a guard up about it. I don't really have that, but you're much less likely to find that in these circles. And
Mm.
that proved to be true in the mastermind. It proved to be true in Kat's event. Everyone was just so kind and open, but I'll get more into that later. So anyway, that was my focus of my positive thinking. It was just being in this community, being surrounded by these women. And it's easy in that situation for your mind, depending on what your default is, for your mind to go to, oh, I'll never afford that. Oh, that's so expensive. Oh my God. And like get into that. But I
Mhm.
really was like, I'm not doing that. I am not going there. I am focused on the positive only. I'm just thinking, wow, I wonder what that would be like. I feel like it would be this way, and that would be so cool. And just visualizing. And yeah, that was how it happened, I think.
Mm. That's so nice. So you were calling in that community and that group of supportive women who were just as passionate as you. And that's what you found at this other conference?
Absolutely. I found that and so much more. So the conference was there were so many different aspects of it, but to summarize, especially based on the title, Wealthy and Well, it was focused on wealth energetics and not only the spiritual side of calling in wealth, also investing and money management. It pretty much covered every aspect of wealth and doing it from a feminine standpoint with the masculine structure. So, yes, being in the flow, yes, receiving, yes, allowing all of those feminine pillars, but then having the structure, the systems, the safety, the discipline, and finding as much of a balance that works for you because everyone's different. Some people are just naturally more in their feminine energy, some are more in their masculine. That's not gender specific, that's just
Mhm.
their energies.
We all have both inside of us.
Yeah, so it was great for wherever you fall in that.
That It reminds me a little bit of the episode we did talking about money and the sort of money date and the money structure and how to create that safety within your own system so that you can flow within that structure. What sort of 3D practical tools did you take away from this conference that will support those feminine flows?
Yeah. So I'm probably going to get the math wrong on this and the specifics, and I will link it in the show notes if I can find the information. But one of the speakers, I'm blanking on her name right now. I will also include that in the show notes. But she went into the specifics of investing and how much you should be putting away based on what you make so that you can retire by X age. And just talking about the people she works with and the younger you start, the better, which I think we all know, but it made me kind of be like, "Oh shit, I wish I started this 10 years ago." But also it was very positive in terms of what you can do now. It's like there's always something you can do
Mhm.
now. You can start today. Oh, and another thing. So that's more of like the masculine structure, but something else that oh, I think I talked about this in a past in the episode we just did, but in terms of more of the spiritual stuff, really being diligent about your thoughts was a
Mhm.
huge takeaway, which there's science behind that. I mean, that's like this conference was very much like yes, there was some woo-woo, but I would say pretty much all of it was coming from a grounded, science-based, quote
It's
unquote,
so
science-based
interesting
place.
because so much science now is coming out just backing all of the woo-woo. Have you
Yes.
noticed that? There's been
Yes.
so much neuroscience and I mean, in the coaching world, there's a lot of language surrounding that, like NLP and just trauma and neurotrigs and all these real research-based, scientifically backed, proven, quote unquote, proven things that they're discovering that just back what the woo-woo spiritual community has been saying for years.
Yes, and that was a point that one of the speakers made. Her business or her Instagram is the bougie hippie, and she was talking about how hippies since the 70s have been saying things that like now people are like, "Oh, okay," and like sharing it
And
like
you're
it's
hearing
brand
like these
new.
top 1% businessmen and women saying these, yeah, very hippie ideas. That's so
Yes.
true.
Yes, and thank God. Thank God it's becoming
Yeah,
mainstream because that might be our only hope
right.
as
That's right.
humans.
Maybe there is hope. We can lift ourselves out of it as a collective. Yeah.
Yes. That was a big takeaway from this concert, LOL. This conference of just like, okay, I have hope not only for my future, but for the world's future. If at least 25% of people, honestly, can get on board with
Yeah.
seeing their power and using it for good.
Right. Lifting each other up instead of tearing them down.
Yeah, and this whole stereotype of quote unquote healers, I believe we all heal ourselves, but I'll just use that word. Healers shouldn't charge money, or it's money is bad, or it's wrong to I don't even like just the whole idea that it's wrong to charge people to offer a service that isn't necessarily tangible, like it isn't this tangible product. And just the stereotypes around women in business and motherhood, that was a big topic. Just so many things that were so expansive, and to see these women in front of you living their dream life from this spiritual place was very inspiring.
I've I've seen a big movement recently in exactly what you're talking about. People recognizing the energy exchange that's happening and recognizing that money is energy. Money is the lubricant of the universe. It's not evil. We're deconstructing some of those old stories around money and seeing it in a more positive and energetic light. And I think that has helped a lot of these healers, like you said, realize their worth and their value, and what they're providing to the world does deserve to be a part of the energy exchange. And also realizing that the more wealthy and abundant we all are, the more we step into our own power like that, the more we can use that money for good. Money can be a tool for creating peace, creating spaces, helping others, lifting each other up. So healers are realizing, oh, actually, I can create this wonderful positive impact in the world and have an uplifting influence by calling in more abundance and by charging what I'm worth and by recognizing the energy exchange. And that seems to be a big shift in people's thinking. And yeah, just seeing money in this more honest and authentic light rather than these old stories that have kept a lot of people chained down into a negative frame. So I think that's, yeah, very inspiring.
Yeah, exactly. Like you were saying, people who have good intentions and want to heal and want to help are the people who should have money.
Yes.
Those are the ones who should
Yeah.
have the most money.
And when you have money, you can spend it in alignment with your values. You can spend it in ways that do continue to do good, which I guess that mindset ties back to something you just said about being diligent with your thoughts. So, what does that look like in practice?
Yes, full disclosure, I just had an emotion code healing session yesterday with Elsa, this practitioner I've worked with on and off since 2024, about negative beliefs and negative thoughts, limiting beliefs. It's interesting because this can also get someone very in their head. So
Mm,
it's finding the finding compassion for yourself also,
mm,
because if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s plus and you've been thinking a certain way your whole life, it's not going to change overnight. So
right.
taking this with a grain of salt and knowing that if you are still having a lot of these thoughts come up when you begin this work, that is totally normal. Be gentle with
Thank
yourself.
you. That's a good disclosure. That's a good reminder for people.
Yes, because I've been doing this work since, I mean, I started therapy in 2013, and it's there are still times where the thoughts can get
Hmm.
very heavy, and it's part of the journey. So what it can look like on a very basic level, a negative thought comes in, and there's a great book about this by Eckhart Tolle. It's
Hmm.
pretty famous, The Power of Now,
Yeah.
where he talks about how our thoughts are coming from something else, and it's like our choice what thoughts we choose to think. Because if we're just sitting there and I'm just like I'm going to stare at this corner of my computer and not actively try to think anything, there's still going to be tons of thoughts coming in. So it's like, where are the thoughts coming from? That's a question for another time. But you can choose what to focus on. So as soon as this negative limiting belief tries to take hold, something you can do in the moment is just flip it. Like just catch
Hmm.
it and flip it. And it takes practice, and but I will say the more you do it, the less those thoughts will come up, and they'll actually start to come in just as positive thoughts. You are
Hmm.
rewiring your brain, and it's never too late to do this. They've proven that. They used to think that you get to a certain age and your brain is set, but that is not true. That has been proven,
Yeah.
which is such a disheartening thing of like, thank God we cleared that up. That is just terrible.
That was an old story that needed to be torn down.
Yes.
And it has been. And now look at all of the people starting later in life and doing these amazing things and creating new pathways and new ways of being.
Yes. Absolutely. It's amazing. And the other part of that, which is where Amon and I's work comes in, is you don't want to be constantly hyper vigilant of your thoughts for the rest of your life. And there's also subconscious things going on that you may not
Mm.
even realize in your awareness. You don't realize in your awareness. And that is where coaching, subconscious programming, breath work, somatic healing comes in, because there's so much being held in our body that we have to address. And just like constantly talking about it, thinking about it, doing that is not, it's just not enough
Yeah.
because we have blind spots, we have repressed memories, so many different things that need to be addressed on an energetic level. But a good place to start for someone listening right now is when you experience those thoughts coming in, flip them.
Flip it.
Yes, and when you are about to post something, when you are about to do anything creative or anything that is tied to a goal that you have, if you can get yourself in a good place mentally,
Mhm.
physically, emotionally before you do that, that is huge. And I know that that's not always possible. I know that life can be stressful, but if you can do that, it makes a world of a difference. Or even, and it's just, even if it's just like a throwing it away, like just a careless thing of like, oh, I made
Mhm.
this thing. This was fun. So I had a lot of fun doing this. I'm putting it out there. It doesn't have to be
Non-attachment,
like, I need
practicing
to
that
think positive
non-attachment.
when I do this.
I had sort of an experience like that today, going through exactly what we're talking about, where I was not in the most regulated place, which, the term like being regulated in a regulated system is kind of misleading because we're always in a state of moving between regulation and dysregulation. So there is no like finish line. Oh, I'm balanced. I'm, totally zen now. I'm like perfectly regulated. Now we're always like constantly throughout the day moving between regulated, dysregulated, sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system. It's always like dancing between our different states of being. However, like you said, it's nice to make moves from a place of being grounded, being present, being positive. And it's not always possible and it's not the end of the world if you can't be at this perfect place, but it is good practice to try and catch yourself when you're feeling out of alignment, out of regulation. So today, I was just feeling, first of all, I was just exhausted. I just got back from a trip, and we'll talk about that in a later episode, but I was just so exhausted. And that I knew that. So I had to tell myself, okay, you're just tired. Part of the reason why you feel maybe like down or sad or bummed out or overwhelmed, some part of the reason why you're just feeling icky is because you're tired. And so a lot of times we can actually point to that. You have to just check in with your system first. Okay, am I tired, hungry, thirsty? You check in with the basic human needs first. And am I on my period? You're like, oh, okay. That might just be the reason for these feelings that I'm feeling. And if that's not it, then you can go deeper. And so today I was like, okay, yeah, I know I'm tired, but is there more to this? And I had to look at some of the things that had happened today that maybe were making me feel off balance. And there was just a series of things that were stacked, like activating triggers for me. But what I did, because I was trying to make decisions about recording the podcast tonight, I was like, okay, am I overloading myself? Am I taking too much on? Am I getting a hit here that I'm overcommitting? I'm talking about going surfing in the morning. I was thinking about going to a party tonight, like a social gathering. And there's just all these things making me feel like, oh my God, there's so much and I don't know what to do. And I got caught in this like indecision freeze. And I just had to catch myself and put it all away, stop doom scrolling. And I just replaced that with some music, some nice spiritual calming music, and did some humming and some very light, like stretching, and just laid down on the floor for a minute, told myself I was safe, had dinner, and then I came back to making the decision about recording the podcast, making the decision about going surfing in the morning, making the decision about the social gathering. Instead of making those decisions from the place of being activated, making those decisions from the place of being more calm, more regulated, more grounded. And then I was able to easily make those decisions and feel confident about it. So, yeah, there's a lot to be said for bringing yourself to a good place in your body before just like forcing your head to think positively. You can't just override your body with positive thinking.
It's very true. That's a beautiful point. Yeah, that's actually that came up in a podcast I was listening to recently about emotional eating and overeating and
Mm.
just doing exactly what you just described, the music and the stretching and the all of that because food and so many other things, social media scrolling, whatever your drug of choice can be, is it's our body trying to regulate, trying to calm
Yeah.
us. It's a tool. Just like how money
Right.
is. These are all
Mm.
tools that we can choose how and when to use them. And at the end of the day, the most aligned choice for us starts with what's already within us, using those tools, and then
Yeah.
going to what's outside of us.
100%. So, what else from the conference? What did you walk away with, or what do you want to incorporate moving forward? What have you already put into practice?
So, something really crazy that happened during the conference is the MC, who is also a business owner in the spiritual space. She led the whole group through a meditation that connected us to the Akashic records. And I've heard of them. I know what they are ish, but I kind of just went in not really knowing what to
Mhm.
expect. Okay, we'll see what happens. And I had this crazy visualization that came through. So something that I have dealt with my entire life, and you probably have picked up on it in this podcast, but I can be very self-deprecating as a way
Mm.
to make myself seem less intimidating, as a way to connect with people, as a way to make people laugh. It's
Mhm.
been this tool that has served me throughout my life, but it's gotta go. It's gotta go.
Mm.
So that is what came up in the in the meditation, and I couldn't even tell you, like, what she was saying because I was just so into the meditation, but it came up as this black little blob that was sitting on my chest, and I was holding it and had these white little cartoon eyes with, like, the
Mm.
black, and I've seen these little demon creatures in meditations before, and it's like I love them so much, but I also know that they're shadow, basically. We gotta be nice to our shadows, but they're still shadows. So this creature came up and I'm holding it, and then it was time to release it. Like I remember she was like, "Okay, it's time to let this thing go." And I just could not stop crying because I was like, "I don't want to. I don't want to let it go. Like this is a part of me."
It's protected you.
Yes. Like this has connected me to my mom. It connects me to certain friends. It's protected me, exactly like you said. And I just could not stop crying, and I really just was I was, like, holding
Mm.
it, and I would envision it start to go away, and it was looking at me, and I was just like, "No." And right before the conference, I had this energy healing session with this woman, and she was like, "I'm getting this lioness energy from you." And it's so weird 'cause I literally put a lion as, like, my background on something. I found this song called Lion whatever, and I
Wow.
said to Lou, I was like, "I'm just feeling like a lioness." Like, I said that months before meeting with this person.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and I was like, "Interesting." And I've always loved big cats, like, I love tigers. I just
Hmm.
feel very connected to big cats. Lion King, one of my favorite movies as a child. So I'm sitting there and this, like, lioness comes up and she, like, sits on my lap and she kinda pushes the thing away. Yeah, it was crazy, and I was just, like, crying and crying, and I had some other animals come in, like, I have a dragon named
Yeah,
Zambara.
your spirit guides. Ooh. We'll have to do an episode on that
Yeah, with
to
all
hear
my
about
little
your,
creatures
yeah.
I've collected from other dimensions, but she she pushes the thing away kind of forcefully, but, firm,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
I see it go into the light. It was safe, it went into the light, it's with God, and the lion cuddled me and sat on my lap, and it was, like, all this light, and I was holding the lion and crying, and it was crazy.
That is
It was
crazy.
crazy. Yeah. I do feel like I absolutely released something and it moved. It's still processing. It's still
Yeah.
there a
It
little
takes a
bit.
minute to integrate.
Yes, but it feels more like a habit versus something that is ingrained in me. Like now it's
Mm.
kind of just the awareness of I'm still doing that. I need to stop doing that
Mhm.
versus I need this for protection. this is an integral part of my personality. That distinction. And I think that is another really important, maybe we can do another episode on this. Part of inner work is yes, you can clear something, but that doesn't mean you cleared the habit of
Right.
relying on that thing. But now you have this new level of awareness where before I had no tools and it was just this thing was my only relief. Where
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, I don't need to do this anymore. I'm still doing it because I'm in the habit and I need to just use my tools and make a different decision.
Mm-hmm. And it can take a minute to process that and to integrate it and to separate yourself from the habit. But the first step is awareness.
Yes. Do you have anything major that comes to mind that you've cleared that you used to feel like I need this for protection or there wasn't really a choice of doing it and then now there's a whole other level of awareness or however you want to describe it?
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Similar, the self-deprecating thing, I think I tackled that a while ago. Not that it doesn't come up every now and then, but I do catch myself not wanting to put myself down. But that definitely was a thing I had to deal with. Negative complaining thoughts. Yes, I've gone through that a few times. Being like, oh, I don't want to complain. Don't want to complain about money. Don't want to speak negatively about money or like, oh, I can't afford that. Like, don't want to say that type of thought. I mean, there was a lot, with the way I am now after the relationship of just not really caring what people think of me to an extent, right? Still want to be a kind, genuine person, but I'm not looking for approval anymore. So I did extract a lot of those types of new ways of being, a new confidence, I guess, in myself after the abusive relationship. But something I'm working on right now actually is what we were just talking about, which is that catching your thoughts, catching your negative thoughts. And there's one specific negative thought that I'm catching, which has to do exactly with the relationship. We've talked about forgiveness a little bit, and I'm sure we'll do an episode on forgiveness, but I, for a while, was not ready to be forgiving. I was still in the anger phase of healing. And I don't think you can rush that phase. People always say, oh, forgiveness, like you've got to forgive, and forgiveness is for you. And I agree that's true to an extent, but a lot of people say that because they're just uncomfortable with the angry side of things. So I didn't want to rush past anger to forgiveness. So I had a lot of thoughts in regard to my abuser. And every time I would think of him, I would go, ugh, that jerk. Ugh, that asshole. Ugh, that, horrible loser. That parasitic worm. All these terrible thoughts, right? And even even thoughts wishing him harm, like I hope something bad happens to him. I hope you burn. Like just these really terrible, not peace and light thoughts. And I wasn't upset about that. I wasn't trying to be like, I need to be more positive. I accepted that that was how I was authentically, honestly feeling about him. And I accepted that when the time was right, maybe I would change my attitude in that regard. And on this trip, which again, the trip will come up later, but I was at this beautiful wisteria garden. And so I was just surrounded by all these beautiful purple flowers. And I was in this like tunnel of wisteria, and the smell of these ambrosial scents just embracing me. I started to feel called towards forgiveness and started to see that purple flame of transmutation with this purple color all around me, around this specific person and these specific thoughts. Not not restoring access. Forgiveness does not mean access. Forgiveness does not mean communication. But just for myself, those thoughts, feeling called to let those go and to instead replace them with connecting that person back to God, right? Asking God and light and source to handle it. Now that I'm back in my home, and yes, he's still camped out in my backyard, I do walk by and it didn't just magically go away. I am hearing my brain go, ugh, that loser. But I am catching it as well. And so I'm going, oh, that loser. Oh, God, I release this to you. I just hope that he can find his way back to you and to truth and that you will protect his journey. And so I'm trying to replace those thoughts. I am replacing those thoughts that are causing this visceral reaction of, ugh, with, it's not my problem. I let it go. God, sending prayers and love your way. So that's just one example of putting that into practice. That's something I'm currently releasing right now.
That is beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
It's a practice and a process.
Yeah. And I think it is so important to wait until we're ready with forgiveness. And exactly like you said it, forgiveness does not mean what anyone did was okay. It does not mean
Mm,
that they're coming back into your life. They never have to know that you forgave them.
yeah. Mm,
And with that all being said, you still have to process the anger before you can get to that point. Or whatever it is, whatever the emotion is that the situation with someone evoked. Maybe it's disappointment, maybe it's fear, maybe it's a combination of things for a lot of
mm,
people. And I think to get to the true forgiveness versus, yeah, I forgave him, it's fine. You
mm.
have to process emotions as they come up, and it's a journey. It's not like, okay, I'm done, I'm ready to forgive. Like things might still come up. And
Yeah.
yeah, just being patient with yourself, patient with the thoughts, because beating ourselves up over the negative thoughts we have is not helping. So I love how
No,
you're having the thought and you're giving it to God instead of, oh my God, I'm still thinking that. It's like,
I said I wouldn't think that. No,
right,
just, oh,
right.
okay. Of course, that thought is coming up. Like I'm still being exposed to these triggering things. So I have to, yeah, just take it. Oh, okay. Of course, there it is. But I caught it and just, okay. I'm choosing something different. I'm choosing to think something different.
Yeah,
I'm choosing instead to think, oh, this loser, why is he ruining my life? I'm choosing to think, you know what? It's okay. It's not my burden anymore
yes.
and call light into it.
Yeah. And for you to come to that less than a year after the relationship ended is huge, huge.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, it's people go their entire lives holding on to that, holding on to the anger, the whatever it is, and I get it. I
Yeah.
get it. I have compassion for them, and I'm sure I still have some I know I still have anger and resentment in me about something, but I would love to share a story
Mm,
on that. I might have told
please
you about
do.
this, but this was a couple of years ago. I was doing a breathwork session at a yoga studio, and the topic
Mm,
of forgiveness came up, which comes up in pretty much every session. And I cover a lot of topics in breathwork sessions. So I did bring up the idea that forgiveness is about setting yourself free. It doesn't have anything to do with the other person coming back into contact with you. It does not mean that what they did was okay. All the things I just said, I went over that and then continued on. And I could tell that this one woman in the class was very upset by what I had said. I didn't know what it was exactly, but I could just tell that she was agitated and something was off. So after the class, I was like, how are you doing? And she was like, not good. And she was probably in her 60s, I want to say. And so
mm,
I like gave her some space and then I went into the locker room and I was like, if you're open to sharing about your experience, I would love to talk it through. And obviously not gonna go into super detail, but something had happened to her when she was 15 that was very bad,
mm,
and she was making a point to never release that anger,
mm,
that pain, and she felt that was her right. She couldn't let it go. It was unforgivable, and it was unforgivable to an extent. But she was so clearly holding herself prisoner,
mhm,
and I'm not a doctor, I'm not God, I don't know if these things were connected, but she had a ton of health issues that were kind of connected to in an interesting way to what happened.
Yeah.
And you could see it. You could just see something was weighing her
Yeah.
down. And like, this is in no way judgmental toward her. I have such compassion for her, but I just wanted to show, and again, I can't prove anything.
But there are a lot of studies on that.
Yes, like, but it's just an example of how it can like eat you from the inside out with
Yes.
it,
Yeah.
holding on to this type of pain and hurt and resentment, and who knows what this person who did this to her is doing. You're harming yourself the most by holding on to
Right.
that. You are poisoning yourself.
Yeah.
And again, I know it's not easy. I know there's lots of layers and nuance to this.
But emotion is energy in motion.
Yeah.
It's supposed to move through us. We're designed for those things to move through us, not to hold on to them tightly. And yeah, anger has its time and place. Being upset, not forgiving, it's a tricky thing because you don't even have to like the person. You can still not like them. You can still be like, they're a bad person. But that piece of letting it go from your body and letting
Mhm.
it go from your heart so it doesn't just destroy you and poison you, that piece is important. And it can take a while, and that's okay. But to make the conscious decision that you will never let it go does seem to be like fighting against your own impulses and intuition. I wasn't ready to forgive, but I was open to God and the universe and to myself. And I'm healing and in tune with the world. And so when I got the image of forgiveness and when I felt called to that, I was okay with at least just being open with the process. Hanging on to it it's just detrimental to you, but everybody's on their own journey. So maybe she's got to learn some other lesson.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. And I feel like for her to share that while also sharing with me about what happened, it was like she knows on some level the two are connected, because it's like, why else
yeah.
would that come up? So it's
Right.
very, very interesting. But yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think. There were so many things about the conference that were incredible. I mean, this is kind of random, but I think her business is the Millionaire Mother or the Millionaire Mama, something like that.
Oh, I recently have been seeing stuff about her.
Yeah, she was
Hmm.
wonderful. She was like pregnant, quite
Mm,
pregnant, and she had three other children. And she talked about her first pregnancy, her first birth, and how it was natural, no drugs, and how painful it was, of course.
mhm,
And she had been wanting to have this pain-free birth. She had read about different hypnosis tracks you can listen to and different inner work practices you can do. And she felt all of this shame, kind of, that it didn't happen that way the first time. And she realized that moving through life's changes and welcoming the pain and feeling the pain, accepting the pain, not trying to be perfect through it, but just not needing that control, not having that expectation. And the connection she made was her being able to do that in her daily life and just becoming kind of a master at releasing the outcomes, moving through challenges as they arise, not fearing the pain, embracing the pain, accepting the pain, allowing it to transform you, which is literally what birth is. She said she had a pain-free pregnant birth her second time.
wow.
Yes, and going, and it's been that like that for the yeah.
Wow.
So that I've like chills, but that was very interesting
Mhm.
to me. I was like, "Ooh," and I've
That
heard that before.
is.
I have heard that on other podcasts where this one woman, she was listening to hypnosis tracks in her ears the whole time, and she said the worst pain she felt was like someone squeezing her arm as hard as they could.
Gosh.
Yeah.
But that ties directly into what we were just talking about. If you're just hanging on to this pain, you create more pain in your body. But if you inhale, exhale, if you prepare your mind, if you let it move through you, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yes, and like I've never had a baby, so I know there's people listening to this that are probably like, "That's bullshit."
Crazy.
I'm not saying that I
I've
don't know.
seen all this stuff about like cranberry juice and I might not even have, is it pomegranate juice? I don't know. There's some sort of juice you're supposed to be drinking and massages you're supposed to give yourself
Yep.
like down
Feeding
there
tapes,
before. Yeah.
acupuncture, chiropractor tips, all kinds of things. And I have friends who have done all of it and still had a somewhat
Still
traumatic
painful.
birth. So we're honoring everything. There's no wrong way, there's
Yeah.
no right way. It just is. It literally just is. Like it is
Respect you,
something.
mamas.
Yes, yes. Oh my God. The most respect. Bow down
Yeah,
to the moms.
absolutely.
Yeah, but that of course stood out to me. I was like, whoa, okay. That
Mhm.
is very, that's
Very
cool.
different.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that those are the highlights for me.
It's amazing. I've been seeing there's a lot of community opportunities, and that seems like very valuable and very powerful. And thank you so much for sharing what you got out of the experience. And I guess if you had parting words of wisdom for anybody listening that's like considering going to a conference, or they want to connect with other like-minded women in their space, or they're nervous about going to a conference, or they don't know what to expect, what sort of parting words of wisdom would you give somebody maybe making the decision to go to something like that?
Yeah, well, first I want to say thank you to Kat for hosting that event, and thank you so much to Kato for bringing me. And as far as parting words, listen to your intuition. If the idea of going lights you up and you know deep in your heart that it is going to shift you, transform you. Let's say that you're in a place financially where it just feels impossible. Do what I did. Just think
Mm-hmm.
about it before those fear thoughts, those limiting beliefs. You can't afford this, whatever your story is that's coming up. Maybe you can afford it, but you're nervous about spending money. Just sit with that intuitive voice, sit with that excitement, and just allow that to expand in your body. Visualize yourself there and trust that you can figure it out. I mean, you're a powerful woman or man, you're a powerful business owner. You can figure it out. You can find $700. You can take an extra client and like you can figure it out. You got this.
Investing in yourself always pays back in amplified ways.
Yes, you're investing in yourself. It's so important. And of course, what feels safe in your body, all of that. I'm not telling people to like
Go without food or water.
right, right. If you can't pay your rent, then prioritize that, of course. But I think we limit ourselves so much, and God has our backs, the universe has our backs. Trust that if it feels right, if it feels aligned, the money will be there, the opportunities will be there, and go for it.
Yeah, so I'm hearing you say, like, take a minute, tune into yourself, right? Put your hand on your heart, your hand on your diaphragm, your belly, breathe into it, and just see really what is your voice telling you? What is that inside voice? Not the voice of fear, not the voice of old money stories, but the voice of intuition that is looking for your expansion, right? And you don't want to come at it from a place of like, oh, I need this because I'm broken, or I have to do it in order to grow my business because I can't do it otherwise. Right? We have all
Right.
the tools within us, but just tune in, because is it coming from a place of, yeah, my cup is full and I want to continue overflowing, and I can see this getting me there. And if it's not completely making sense on the books, call in some miracles and just be open to other ways where it can show up.
Yes, and I want to call something out because I've never heard this from clients, but I have heard tons of mentors share that this is a thing that comes up of I got to ask my husband. I
Mm.
need to ask my partner. And I'm like, come on. No. No one knows what's better for you than you do.
Thank
And
you.
yes, and I think that people may be underestimating their husbands or assuming or just using it as an excuse because if your husband is in support of your business, in support of what you're doing, wants you to be happy and thrive, then he's going to be like, okay, babe, let's figure this out.
That's the thing in sales. It's usually when they say I have to ask my partner, it's usually just an excuse. But
Yep.
it doesn't mean no either. And so it's usually just a signal of like, okay, well, what would your partner say?
Yeah.
What would they object to? What would don't they want the best for you?
Right.
Because it's usually just a fear-based excuse of like, I just want more time to think about this.
Yep.
So yeah, if you're, I guess if you're that person that's like, well, I need to talk to my partner, are you doing it because you need their approval and their like permission? Or are you doing it because you don't trust yourself in making that decision? Or, and some people just want to loop their partner in and make that move together. There's different layers to it. So
Yes.
just being honest with yourself about where that's coming from.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yay.
Cool. Well, I hope that everyone gets the chance to experience something like that. It sounds so valuable to be surrounded by other women who think alike and who have all this wealth of experience and knowledge and spiritual connection and depth. It seems very empowering and like it serves you over multiple years. And I'm sure in the future we'll be planning those types of events. So
Yes.
hopefully we
Absolutely.
can bring all of our people together in our community and we'll create a container to bring the women that we're connected with to something like that as well.
Yes, yes, and one more thing, get in the room with people who are ahead of you, who are further along in their business. Don't worry about being behind. Don't be embarrassed that you haven't made X amount of money. You need to be surrounded by people who are doing better than you. And better is a bad word, but you know what I mean? Like people who are further along in their business, who are living the life that you want to live, because then it shows you this is possible for me.
Yes, yes. And we're mirrors of each other. So when you see that, that means your energy is already matching that frequency. You're
Yes.
already connected to that person, which means it is possible for you. And so just staying connected to them and supporting each other, uplifting, continuing to spiral upward together is a great tip. Yeah, so thank you, everyone. Please like, follow, rate the episode, share it with your friends. Let us know what was valuable to you, and we'll be back next week.
Bye.
Bye.